Happy Friday.
Fantastic. You're in California, right?
Sadly.
No good, yeah.
I heard the air quality is horrible.
Oh, it's beyond horrible. We passed horrible about 5 miles ago. Now we've entered a nuclear winter.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Like, that's gotta be fucking crazy. Like, are you thinking about leaving or anything like that? Like,
Never. I'm from Detroit. You can't scare me out of California. I'm going to die here, by God.
fair enough. I'm a Buckeye fan. I understand not wanting to go back to Michigan. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Where are you from? What part of Michigan are you from?
No, he's from Ohio. He's from Ohio.
Oh, he's a Buckeye guy.
Cool.
You know what? Bleep you and Woody Hayes.
I accept that.
Listen, this is how much Ohio hated. This is how much Michigan hates Ohio. When Woody Hayes, who the Ohio coach, when he was fired, they did the blip, blip, blip underneath the cartoons. You know, it was underneath the Godzilla cartoon. Like they only did that for like tornadoes and other terrible things happening in Michigan. I remember running upstairs to wake my father on a Saturday morning. This poor aerospace engineer, and he's like, "I hear a wand cheer," and he goes, "I'll celebrate in an hour when I'm up."
Oh man, Woody Hayes is the best. I love that dude. He got fired for slapping a kid. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, just like Pat, isn't it hilarious? My sister Diane, I regret to inform this, my sister Diane married an Ohio State guy, a great guy, Jim Nelson. And my father said, I like Jim so much, I'm going to overlook that he is a Woody Hayes guy, you know?
I mean, like, that's big. That is a lot. You know, like, it takes a lot of personality to cross that bridge.
Right. Jim's a great guy. So, yeah, my father was convinced that was it made it a mixed marriage for a while, Michigan and Ohio, you know?
Yeah, that's weird. That sounds really weird to me. I don't, it's one of those, like, Romeo and Juliet situations.
Exactly, except this one had a happy ending.
Yeah, that's for sure. I like this. We'll call it a big ending.
Exactly.
So Pat, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. I do some writing. I kind of cover horror for a bunch of horror, the whole horror sci-fi genre for a bunch of magazines in the U.S. and England. I write for Infinity Magazine, Dark Days. For the bigger nerds out there, Star Wars Insider and Star Trek Monthly.
All right. Star Wars Insider, that's very interesting.
I mean that fondly. Hey, I love it. I mean, to me, it always damages my horror credibility when you can also name every part of Star Wars. You know,
I'm just more impressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can do everything Star Wars and then go off and also, you know, because like there's people who you can just solely devote yourself to horror stuff or Star Wars and be completely happy and there's enough out there for you to soak it all in and be satisfied. But you do both, which is remarkable.
It's awful, you guys. I mean, I love horror, but I know a lot about sci-fi, and I can find the people they're looking for. But I got to tell you, it's murder sometimes. I mean, you know, that if you can cover Borg, you're not supposed to be able to cover like the works of John Carpenter. But I mean, you know, you have to.
Alien, sci-fi, horror, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Alien is one of the true sci-fi horror blends. I mean, I interviewed the late Dan O'Bannon. And I remember asking him if one of my mentors around college, and he became an interview for my high school paper, my college paper, and he was the first article I broke into Starlog with, was a guy named Jerome Bixby. And Jerome was a big sci-fi guy. He created the Mirror Universe. He wrote the movie that inspired Alien, which is an old 50s thing called It, Terror from Beyond Space.
Okay, no, I've heard of this. Dan tried to get me to watch that.
yeah, you should. It's shocking how much Alien took from it. What's more amazing though is he also came up with a story for one of the 3 best Twilight Zones. He did It's a Good Life, where the kid is zapping people into the cornfield.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that's my worst
Yeah. Do you have an angry 3-year-old? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm afraid of them. I
Okay.
as far away from them as possible. Those things are evil without the supernatural powers. Like I don't even want to think about if they get a leg up on me. You know, it's like it's bad enough.
As long as it's like a young predator on Animal Planet. As soon as they sense fear in you,
yeah, that's over. I live in constant terror of children, and there's nothing that can be done about it. I just try to, I just take it one day at a time. That's all I can do.
Yeah, Alien is actually a lot of people don't talk about it in the slasher genre, but it absolutely is a slasher movie.
10 Little Indians, man. And by the way, I have a story in Scream magazine called Hollywood Scary Summer about the horrors of 79. Alien showed up in 1979 when this is in the new issue of Scream at Barnes & Noble. Alien showed up in the biggest year for horror in the last 40 years. You had Dawn of the Dead, you had Phantasm, you had Alien, you had Prophecy, you had the Amityville Horror, and it was also a year of a lot of real-life horrors. That was the year of 3 Mile Island. And by the way, the same year, China Syndrome, which you could also argue is a horror movie, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is
you had China Syndrome. You had the you had the 2 and 3 Mile Island. You had the hostages taken over in Iran. It was a dark year on and off the screen.
That is crazy.
That's nuts. That's great. Yeah.
Influence the other. Like art imitating life, imitating art.
Yeah, because you had Dawn of the Dead, which they don't say radiation, but that was always the implication.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. One of the characters in Romero told me this, and he's quoted in the article. George Romero was insane about when 3 Mile Island came out, and when it happened, it didn't come out. When 3 Mile Island happened, and then Dawn of the Dead was playing across country, it was rolling screen to town to town. So when Dawn of the Dead rolled through, people were naturally making because 3 Mile Island was in Pennsylvania. People were making the natural connection between zombies and radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And Romero was outvoted on Night of the Living Dead, the original. He didn't ever want to say what made the dead rise to eat the living. And a lot of the investors, because they grew up in the 50s horror movies, they're like, George, we have to tell the people what's happening. We have to have an explanation. And he's like, okay, we'll work something out. We'll have several people suggest something. One of which was the Venus probe. You guys remember that?
Mm-mm.
One of the newsmen in Night of the Living Dead. In fact, here's a challenge since it's public domain and it runs all through the month of October. If you're working on something, listen to Night of the Living Dead. Don't watch it. Just listen to those news breaks and how much information they give you. And so what happened is they mentioned a Venus probe, and they spend in order about 10 minutes of screen time with news reports on the Venus probe, and it put radiation on the eastern half of the United States, hitting Pennsylvania and a couple other states. So it's more of a centralized zombie apocalypse than a global one, like in Dawn and the others.
Right.
And what happens in it, what happens in it with Romero said he went nuts. It was just there to placate the investors. So he went nuts. He said within 10 years, when Night of the Living Dead was running at 3 a.m. all over the country, he said the TV guides would mention the Venus probe. They would mention the Venus probe. A Venus probe causes radiation to make the dead rise to eat the living. So when he did that, he said when he saw a TV guide, he lost his ever-loving mind because that's not what he wanted to suggest.
Yeah. This is with that forever now. Everybody's real frustrated.
It's like it kind of happened naturally, but you're like, no, that's not what it is. But everyone's like, this is what it is. Like it's obviously this. Like, and there's just nothing to be done about it.
That's why Dawn. That's why they just get up and start walking in Dawn. You know what I mean? And I think that's the way to go. He wanted that just to happen, and like Stephen King would just have it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
It's so much scarier not knowing, right? And your imagination dictates whatever it might be. It's so much more fun.
Now that you know every step of Michael Myers' life, doesn't it diminish Halloween a little bit?
Sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. It's that's the other thing too. It's like you kind of want more because the characters are all interesting, but part of the like what after the monster is revealed and like you're kind of like sitting there, you're numb to it a little bit just because it's like, okay, I've seen Michael Myers, like what else can you give me? So it's got to be like more stuff, but then the more stuff you get, like the more saturated you are or whatever. And
yeah.
It doesn't really equal out, when you get more story behind some things.
No, totally true. I mean, the bigger fear when you see Alien for the first time, every time you think you get a grip on what the alien is, the face hugger and all that, he changes shape. That's brilliant.
Yes, I didn't even think about that, and that's what's wrong with all the subsequent Alien movies, because you know what an alien is, like all the things it's going to be, and then they're like, oh, well, now the aliens do different things, but. Like at that point, it's a novelty. It's like, this is a cow alien. This is a dragon alien. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's more for the toy companies.
Yeah, that's true.
But and also when you look, Barton Mixon, a friend of mine, is an effects. He did the original It and a bunch of other stuff. Barton Mixon's big argument is that you can draw a direct line from 50s horror, from 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon to Alien. He said they're both the best suits of their time, and it makes complete sense. And when the alien is on the move, in the original Alien, look at the movie. I'd never seen Alien on the big screen until some screening a couple years ago at the New Beverly, and you see how little the alien moves in the movie. When it grabs Tom Skerritt, he's just sitting there and raising his arms, but it's the biggest jump in the movie.
Oh god, Alien! That movie scared the crap out of me because I thought it was like more like Aliens, because like that's more of an action movie and it's a little jump scary, but like it's more straightforward than Alien is. And I was expecting that, and you got this horror movie, and I'm not a horror guy. I don't like being scared. I don't understand why people enjoy being scared, but I'm not gonna hate on it. Like that's just my bag. But like the good ones, I'm still in for, and like Alien for sure is like, it was scary as hell, but yeah. And then like when you see the thing, like when it's finally grown, you're like, oh my god, like yeah.
Yeah, when he's walking around, when you see him at that ending where she's singing "Lucky Star" and he walks out of he walks out of the steam, and it's so terrifying,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah,
good stuff.
What is your favorite horror movie?
You know what? I've got a soft spot in my heart for Jaws. I think Jaws is animatronic. I think everyone loves sharks, and I think that's the scariest shark movie ever made.
For sure.
I agree. I love Jaws.
So what? I want to know, you guys. What are your three favorite? The three of you. What are your favorite horrors?
Probably The Shining. I've got a really soft spot in my heart for the first half of the original It miniseries.
Okay, I can accept that. Go on. I won't hold that against you.
I really like recently Dr. Sleep.
Wow, is Dr. Sleep good? I keep seeing it on HBO, and then I see the running time and think, I'm going to bed.
It's really, really good. The only issues I've heard anybody say is somebody who read the book that didn't like the ending because it's slightly different, because this is a direct sequel to Kubrick's The Shining. So the Stanley Hotel exists in the Dr. Sleep movie, and it doesn't exist in the book. So the endings are fairly different. But what's the director's name? He is fantastic. He's the same guy.
Yeah, you know what? I met him. Andy something, right? I met him at the premiere of Midsummer.
Oh my gosh, Midsummer messed me up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please do. Midsummer is fantastic. My favorite viewing experience in the last 5 years. I saw Midsummer with Noah and Ari Aster and their parents. One of my friends was friends until we went to the premiere with them. And we're at the premiere, and it was fun because his parents are wonderful people. The Asters are really wonderful people. But you would hear mom would gasp at the violence, and dad would gasp at the sex. It was really weird, And I told Ari Aster, I go, your parents are going to watch this. Did you know? And he goes, well, they know me.
It was
because I didn't know when the old lady is grabbing his buttocks.
Yeah.
When the old lady is grabbing his buttocks during the sex scene, I'm looking at my shoes because I don't want to. You know, I could hear one of the parents gasping at that. I don't want to look at the screen for a minute.
The director of Dr. Sleep was Mike Flanagan. He also did Haunting of Hill House. And Andy.
Yes, I met him and the director were at the Midsummer premiere in Hollywood.
Yeah, he captures Kubrick in that movie. Like the ending, he really gets the Stanley Hotel down. So yeah, I recommend it. Absolutely recommend it.
I was worried I was going to be Kubricked out, to be honest with you. It was coming so. I think one of the problems Dr. Sleep, besides, and I'm not saying there was problems, I haven't seen it, but I know everyone was bitching about the running time. It's like Blade Runner 2049. They would say, brilliant movie, but it's like 100 hours long. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and this is my problem with Dr. Sleep, though. If it had come out before Ready Player One had fetishized The Shining, I think it was too late, you know?
The Shining has been like done and done and done and done. You know, like it's a classic, and everyone's ripped off The Shining and stuff. You know, like it's been homaged and all this stuff like so many times by now. Like it does kind of lose its punch, but because I mean, like even the creepy girls from The Shining don't scare me, and creepy girls are like no.
He's scary 3-year-olds. Little girls on tricycles.
You're an Ohio goth. You're supposed to be in the creepy girls.
Children, again, like no
go. Yeah, okay.
No go.
But no.
Okay, devil children. All right, devil children are your Achilles heel.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Okay, that's interesting. Everybody has it, but why devil kids? Why do devil kids mess you up so much? I want to know, all three of you. I want to know your pet horror peeve. You know, the thing that nerves you.
I love kids. I have kids, but evil kids in movies scare the bejesus out of me. Or little girls whispering in horror movies.
Children singing.
Wow.
One of the scariest parts of the original Elm Street is the little girl singing.
Yeah. But if it's just one girl, or if it's like the opera of kids singing,
a
chorus.
Well, you've had the children's organ. You had the terrifying children's orchestra since 1979's Amityville Horror, or even The Omen. You know what I mean?
I am out. I can't watch The Omen.
Freddy vs. Jason I thought was really funny, but there's a sequence where
that's not a horror movie.
There's a sequence where the girl wakes up in the police station and she's walking. This little girl approaches her with glass in her eyes. That thing freaked me out.
Wait, what movie is that?
Freddy vs. Jason. That was like the only super scary part in that movie, but it happened.
I saw that at the drive-in. I never knew the kid had glass in her eyes. We saw that at the drive-in, so we missed every third effect. You know?
I think mine's pretty broad though, but I think it's like anything where you think you're going to be safe, like Freddy Krueger. Or it's like if you're sleeping, you think you're going to be safe, or if you're not dying in your sleep, you're not going to realize you're dead. Freddy kind of flips on your head, right? You're in your dream, just getting destroyed, right? Like he's coming to the bed.
That's why Freddy and It. Those are like no go for those as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, because you have to sleep. Like there's it's not even it's like okay, I'll stay away from if the movie's about an evil blender, you're just like all right, I'll just never use a blender.
Have blenders.
But you have to go to sleep. Like that's what's fucked about Freddy. Like he's a great horror story because that scares the Jesus out of me. Horror movie. I like the Conjuring, the first one.
Great movie.
It's like
hey, you know what? Don't just The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2 is pretty good.
It's just the first one. I only dig the first one.
I like all.
I love that it's a universe. I love the fact that it's a universe. Even if they're bad, I love the fact that it's a universe. Like there's whole trilogies and things like that. There's
a lingering creepiness in that first one that's like even after like the big monster reveal in the movie like is not as good. Like it's still super creepy. I don't know. Like, so I dig that movie. It's a great horror movie. That's probably my favorite one. Like, but Alien is way up there. Like, I mean, give me a break. And Sigourney Weaver just kicks all kinds of ass in that movie. So,
how about Heredity? That movie, the little girl putting her freaking head out the car window.
Oh my God! You know what? Well, you know what? About 2 weeks before Midsummer, I saw Hereditary for the first time, and I thought, "Gosh, it's getting awful slow." And without giving anything away. When that little girl sticks her head out the window, the movie goes bonkers and it never comes back. I loved it, you know?
Yeah, definitely sped up. Oh, we lost him.
Oh,
We lost him. Let's keep talking.
Yeah, that was good.
I have not seen Hereditary yet.
I should.
Yeah, you should if you want to have nightmares.
Girl's head gets smashed off by a sign.
The movie Lights Out, that movie did not do it for me. I'm like, just
I have not heard good things.
Lights
I
on.
mean, yeah. I meant to reference like Us and Get Out and things like that. Those are some recent horror movies that got really good. Like, I love them too.
Get Out, personally, is the most realistic horror movie I have ever seen because of the first scene.
Remember what the first scene is?
The first scene, okay, so the black dude walking through suburbia, and he's lost. And then his car rolls up like real quick, but like real creepily, and then stops like up the street a little bit, but still in sight. And the dude stops walking, looks at the car for like 2 seconds. He's like, nope, turns around and starts walking the other way.
Yeah.
And I was like, most realistic thing I've ever seen in a horror movie. Like hands down, that's exactly what I would do. Like, you are going to have to chase me. Motherfucker, it will not be easy to get.
There we go. There we go.
Hey,
right.
How dare you bastards cut me off?
Never. Never.
I would never give away the secret of Hereditary.
It's tough on the blood.
I want to hear more about you, Pat. I listened to your guys' old show that you guys used to do.
See, that pains me. Old show. It's only because of this freaking COVID thing. And, you know,
it has. Steve made it sound like it had been off for a while. It's still going?
It's still, well, it will be after they kind of closed up Chaotic Radio. It's a punk station. They've been playing the best of since March. So, yeah, we're supposed to do more after this thing, after they're okay to. We're trying to do a newer episode, but, you know, good luck getting guests outside of Zoom calls, you know?
Right.
Mm.
Like this, you know, which is very fun. Yeah. But I like it. Being in the room with you guys would be even more fun. You know what I mean?
For sure. Oh, yeah. Like, it's, and that's another thing we were talking to about live stuff. Like, I do miss, like, because we missed the whole con season this year, obviously, you know, and, like the live stuff is so much fun, you know, like it's really fun to be out there with people and like just geeking out about, you know, like whatever. And then, you know, like you go and you make people laugh and you have a good time, you give away stuff and it's like a real blast. And I miss that a lot.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, San Diego Comic-Con, which is like the knee plus ultra of conventions, that didn't happen. Monsterpalooza, if you guys are horror guys, the biggest convention to do isn't Chiller. It's Monsterpalooza on the West Coast. It's the best. It's the best convention you'll ever do.
Yeah, we've got Horror Hound, and there's another horror con that they usually come here every year that we missed this year.
You did what's that one called? It's called the Steel City Con, right?
We do have that.
How is that one? I don't leave the state often for a con. I do Emerald City, which I do a lot of interviews at. But how is Steel City? How is the other one you just mentioned?
Horror Hound is awesome. They get a lot of people for their conventions. They have a lot of celebrities, and the vendors at Horror Hound. I frequent many Comic-Cons, but I think Horror Hound has the best vendors because instead of seeing pop figures at every booth, they actually have a bunch of individuality. With the artists, they get very creative with the horror franchises, and I absolutely love Horror Hound. That's my biggest disappointment with COVID, personally, is that I didn't get to go. I still have tickets for next year, but
we haven't gotten to Steel City yet.
Wow, yeah, I've been curious. Let me know. There's one. Have you done the one? There's a con where they do it like the Dawn of the Dead reunion, and they do a walking tour of the Monroeville Mall. Have you done that?
No,
that'd be sweet though. That sounds incredible.
I'm thinking if I were in Pennsylvania, that's my first stop.
Oh, man, I had us on a tour for Comic-Cons. It was going to start in May, and that's when COVID started. So it slowly canceled all of our live shows we were going to do.
Were you going to do San Diego? Were you coming out here?
No,
we local Midwest.
That far west.
We haven't gotten tickets yet. I've gotten into the room that allows me to buy the tickets. But I've never actually been able to get the tickets.
Do you know how many people I know who bitch about that every single year?
No, 1 year I was.
Hey, are you guys all in Cleveland? What part of Ohio? I forgive you all if you're out of. Are you? Wait, who? One of you is from Seattle?
No. This is all Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio, right smack dab in the middle.
Oh, Columbus. Okay, all right. I love Cleveland. I love Cleveland for some reason.
Yeah, I am going to California as soon as I can. That's my plan for early next year. I'm going to take a trip. I was going to do San Diego this year. I was just going to pay to take myself to San Diego and just do all of the side stuff that's in the city.
A sweet city. Like,
because
that city is fucking awesome.
When Comic-Con,
America's best city, they call themselves. Finest city, yeah.
Because when San Diego Comic-Con's in town, like there's stuff everywhere, not just at the convention center. So I'm like, I'll just go there.
The weird thing about San Diego is I remember driving up at my first San Diego's, and you put on the rock station, and they would say, "Put clothespins on your noses, gang. Comic-Con is in town. The nerds are here." Last year, the same station, the girl on the radio goes, "Is anyone holding? Does anyone have Comic-Con passes? Can anyone get me in a Friday or Saturday?" Yep. And I thought, yeah, man, we're the nerds. Rent the nerds, baby. We take it over.
Dude, Big Bang Theory exploded the popularity of being a geek. Like, it made it mainstream, like on a whole nother level.
Oh, yeah. You have no idea. I mean, you don't have no idea of the bounce. Summer, the chick from Summer... What was the Summer Glau? Thank you. She told me after she played herself on Big Bang. And by the way, that Cheesecake Factory is real. It's a real place in Pasadena. And the comic shop they're always referencing. Here's one of the great things. On 2.5 Men, no, not 2.5 Men, on Big Bang Theory, when one of the characters proposes and he goes to get an engagement ring, he goes to a jewelry store called Frank & Sons. Frank & Sons is actually the biggest comic expo in California, and they do it twice a week, 3 times a week now. And what would happen? And so they had Frank & Sons jewelers, and that was an homage to Frank & Sons, the convention out of Walnut. It's a great convention. Let me know when you're in California. I'll make sure you go. You'll love it.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
and
I was
it's amazing.
1 year, and I didn't even get into the room that Jason was talking about. I didn't even get into the waiting room. Like, the screen just turned white, and then that was all that happened.
I had deals in the room,
and I was I mean, so close. I was so close to it.
I'm like, if I get 2 tickets, you can go with me, and we'll split the tickets to the guys in the room. Like, if you get a ticket, extra ticket, take me.
Yep.
It's the Holy Land, boys. I mean, there's no place bigger in nerddom. And there's so many crazy things. I remember 1 year I was going through 50-cent bins. This is like 4 years ago. And people are looking down all of a sudden. I love 50-cent bins are my jam. To go through a big box of like 50-cent comics from the 70s and 80s and all that and 90s. So I'm going through the bin and people keep staring down. And I thought I was getting self-conscious. But they weren't looking at me. And one of the bins, there was like 6 big bins. On one side was the guy from The Mist, Punisher.
Okay.
Who's the Punisher?
John Barenthal.
John, no, that's the new Punisher.
Punisher.
I'm talking second Punisher, not Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Thomas Jane.
So Thomas Jane, barefoot. He likes to walk around conventions barefoot. Thomas Jane is going to the far right bin. And to the far left bin with a pile of Morbius comics, Morbius the Living Vampire, is Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, my God.
What?
So I knew it was a good bin because I thought, well, of the clientele, those are 2 of the more, they've got better taste than your average 50-cent customer, such as myself.
I mean, dude, I would geek out with Guillermo del Toro about
Pan's Labyrinth. That movie was awesome. Yeah, that's true, too.
I mean, the first Hellboy. Oh, my God.
But he's one of those guys where all his stuff is good. All his stuff is good. I remember 1 year at Comic-Con, I interviewed a guy named Arnold Drake. And it was Arnold Drake. Arnold Drake immediately died after he did this convention. He was the creator of Dead Man and Doom Patrol.
Oh, man.
And so they had Guillermo del Toro. Del Toro was on stage talking. At the time, he was going to do like a $25 million Dead Man movie based on the old character.
I remember that.
And this not him. It wasn't his. It wasn't Del Toro's fault. But it angered me. DC Comics, no more Bill Fingers. It took 44 years for the co-creator of Batman to get a credit.
Right.
So they're doing this in Hall H, the biggest hall in the convention center, and people are cheering at the mention of Deadman. And here's the old sweet guy who created Deadman, Arnold Drake, parked in a wheelchair in the Artist Alley with nobody. Nobody from DC or Warner Brothers came and got him. I hate stuff like that. I mean, you'd always see he'd be dumped in the druggiest part of Artist Alley with a bunch of 70s softcore actresses.
Yeah, it's too bad. That's rough.
No, it does. It's sad. But, I don't know. Deadman's sweet. That's one of my favorite characters. Like that's just a cool fucking character.
I haven't.
Oh yeah, and I mean the Neil Adams run. Did you read the Neil Adams run?
No, I am a fan of Deadman in the cartoons. Rather, sorry.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah,
they started in comics.
I read like Kingdom Come, and like he's a mayor, but I'm not a huge comic book Deadman reader.
Shame on you. Strike two.
With a heavy heart.
Fair enough.
But Guillermo's great. He made me believe that an alien fish monster could fall in love with a human woman, and I was completely into that relationship. By
the way, he won. You guys, if you want to look at, and by the way, that's a great design by Mike Hill. Designed the creature in that film, and the Doug Jones creature.
Yeah,
and it's just
was it underwater? Oh.
Shape of Water.
Yeah, Shape of Water. He won Best Picture. He won Best Picture and Best Director with essentially a Beauty and the Beast horror movie. That's never happened.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's very true. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, and Universal is still spending tons of cash trying to figure out how to do the Creature from Black Lagoon. It's been done and won Best Picture.
They should have just paid him like, hey, can you just slap our title on this?
I know. Exactly.
I think it would have been a perfect Creature from the Black Lagoon.
It's a beautiful movie too. I mean, it's just it's just every girl I know is in love with that monster in that movie. You know what I mean? I mean.
No, Pat, let me ask you about this. How do you feel about the who is it? The monsters, the old classic monsters.
Classic monsters, yeah, that's what
they're trying to reboot it, but like none of the reboots are any good. Like they did the Mummy, and what was the other one they did?
I Frankenstein was.
Oh yeah, actually, you know what?
Frankenstein. Mummy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you. It's your show.
No, go ahead. You were going to expound upon it. You're good.
Well, I think it depends what you do with it. It depends what you do with it. I mean, the 1999 Mummy, I think is fantastic. Running the Mummy to Raiders of the Lost Ark, that was genius.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I prefer the Brendan Fraser one to the Tom Cruise one.
So did Universal. That one made money.
The Tom Cruise one doesn't bother me, but the problem with the new monster movies is they're trying to create like a shared universe, and I think too many people are focused on the shared universe instead of just making a good movie.
Yeah, like that's
but remember, guys, everything is franchise now. Everybody wants a Marvel universe, but the Marvel universe worked because they took their sweet time. I mean, everybody forgets. Everybody forgets that Jon Favreau put Nick Fury, and half the audience walked out when Nick Fury showed up in Iron Man. Yep. And then it became a reason to see Iron Man again. Oh my God, dude, you missed Nick Fury,
Yeah.
And when you go ahead.
Yeah. Just make one good movie. That's what you have to do. That's got to be the focus to start. They forget that. They forget that all the time.
And I mean, the connections with Marvel at the beginning were very just small. Like you got Nick Fury at the end, and then you got a very short cameo from Stark and Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
And those are really the only connections to a bigger universe. And then slowly they built upon it until they got to Iron Man 2, which was a commercial for it.
I don't think that you would have gotten that end of trailer scene, that end of movie scene, and the credit scene if Iron Man didn't do that well. They would have never even put that in there. They didn't. I don't think they filmed that ahead of time. There's like, oh my god, it's gonna work. Let's run.
Yeah. No, we can breathe life into this again.
Because it's such a small thing. Like it's easy to do. But I'm absolutely sure that there's like and then it worked, and they're like, okay, we can go.
Yeah, because you look at the Mummy, and the Mummy, everything was organic. They put the Mummy in there. They made the Mummy interesting. They didn't give you the Mummy everyone thought they were supposed to see, which is the guy lumbering around in bandages. Right. They give you kind of a cool Raiders of the Lost Ark Mummy. And then when that made money, and they decided to do Van Helsing, they jammed every one of their monsters in there. And I would argue the most entertaining scene in that movie is the Mr. Hyde fight in the first 10 minutes, and the black and white Frankenstein sequence that opens the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, it was like CG. What you gotta do is, I think I grew up on Godzilla movies. I love Godzilla. I thought Skull Island was better. The Kong Skull Island was better than the first new Godzilla.
Agreed. Yeah, totally agree. Kong was great.
I agree.
Plus, Samuel L. Jackson.
And you get to see King Kong.
And don't forget John Goodman. John Goodman of Chud is also in that movie. So.
Yeah. We were just talking about John Goodman.
Cloverfield.
Yeah, Cloverfield.
He's one of my dream interviews because he was in Revenge of the Nerds.
That guy has got to be so cool.
Wait. Who? Oh, yeah, he's the coach in Revenge of the Nerds.
He's the coach, yeah. He's like the only one in that movie that's 100% into his role.
Yeah. Well, no. I think Ogre's pretty good, too.
I do, too.
Nerds. And Bernie Casey. For God's sake, the great Bernie Casey is in there. Let's not. I mean, the great thing about Revenge of the Nerds is, like you said, it's character palooza. The farmer from Babe and everything else. I mean, it's wall to wall interesting people.
I watched that movie so many times, but every time I watch it, I'm always surprised to see James Cromwell and John Goodman in the movie.
Yeah, because they're too big for it. I mean, I asked John Goodman about Chud. I did a big story on Chud before Fango folded again. So I had a just giant Chud piece with everybody in it, and John Goodman was telling me about being the cop in the diner, and his partner, the guy from Cheers. What's his name? In Chud.
Oh God, I know the answer to that question. We're our
the DJ
right now.
He's a famous DJ. He's
Sam.
He was on Cheers. He was he played Eddie LeBeck, but who was the actor? Come on, help me.
I'm trying.
Oh, man.
Jay, hold on, it's Jay something. Par 106. He was Jay.
Jay Thomas. Jay Thomas.
Yeah, Jay Thomas. So I call him up before he died. God rest his soul. And I basically, he calls me back because I talked to Stern. I talked to Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern and the director, and they went through black books and got me everyone who was in shot. Except the female lead, who have apparently been running from the movie for 36 years. So I get John Goodman and Jay Thomas. And Jay Thomas tells me, he goes, I was standing there with John Goodman. We're getting ready to be eating in the diner. And he goes, he turns to the director and points at John Goodman in his police uniform. He goes, if there's a Chud 2, they're still going to be eating John. One of my favorite quotes ever, you guys.
I mean, and that would be cool too if they did that. Like they're still eating the cop over there.
Yeah.
There's some
wedding cake in the freezer. It just comes out.
Yeah. You're all John Goodman waiting for the anniversary.
Oh man, those Chuds created society around eating John Goodman's corpse. There's enough.
There's generations of Chud. And by the way, you're right. I watched Cloverfield again this week. I caught Cloverfield up, and Cloverfield 2 is so trippy.
Yeah, that's the one John in it. Yeah.
Cloverfield is what I've always wanted movies to do. I've always thought it'd be fun if you took the cast of The Hangover playing the same characters and then suddenly made a horror movie. Mm-hmm. I like that they made the kind of kidnapping movie in Cloverfield, and it's not till the end that it really ties together. Like, I like that they made a completely different film, and I wish, they would explore that with other films. I think that'd be great.
I love how the third movie ties it all together, how they're different universes or dimensions or whatever. It's a cool process.
Well, remember, is Overlord, does Overlord, I saw it, but I don't, originally that was going to be Cloverfield 3, but I think they pulled back, right? Is there Cloverfield 3?
Yeah, it's Paradox. It came out right after the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's out there. It's like Cloverfield. I can Google it, but it's like Paradox, I think.
Oh, you're right. The God Particle. They took the script and turned it into Cloverfield 3. Yeah. You know what? I never, after the Super Bowl commercial, I always meant to watch it and never did. Is it any good?
I liked it. I mean, it described and explained all the different movies and how they're kind of loosely connected, and I really enjoyed that. I think you'd enjoy it. I'd give it a watch. I don't want to ruin anything for you if you haven't seen it, so I would definitely give it a watch.
Because Overlord was supposed to be a Cloverfield sequel, and then they ran away from it at the last minute.
Right.
I don't know. I thought that it wasn't necessary because, like, you already knew from the first Cloverfield movie that, like, different monsters, like, popped off of this thing. So it's all kinds of different shit happening. Like, so when you have the John Goodman story and then you compare it to the first movie, like, they're wholly different movies and they're very different stories. But you can understand they're happening, and then, like, of course.
You need to watch the third movie because it kind of explains it even more why they're different things in both movies. Yeah. It's good.
But see, that's one of my problems. I don't want you to over-explain the monster. I mean, the things are the original Cloverfield is 9/11 Godzilla filtered through 9/11, and those are remember Godzilla has the mites. He has the mites on all over his body, and they're jumping down and eating soldiers. I mean, Cloverfield is such a freak out. Can you think of another movie in your lifetime that had a sign from a major studio warning about dizziness and vomiting in the theater? Even Blair Witch didn't have that.
Yeah. How trippy was the Blair Witch? I remember when that first came out. I was really young, but it was all the rage. Like, is this real? Did they really do this? Did they film
it? Pat, what are you up to now? Like, what do you got coming out?
I've got Lair. I think Prey of. I think now that it had 4 different titles. It was the Prey for a long time. Now it's called Prey of Carnoctus, where Danny Trejo and a bunch of guys wake up a 4-legged monster in a cave. Don't look for me in that. I'm the 4-legged monster.
Danny Trejo, though?
He patted me on the hump. He patted me. I have a giant hump. And the more
has looked like he's 63 years old for 63 years.
hey, the man's an icon.
I love it.
You can't put him down until you've tried his donuts and his tacos, which are incredibly.
Eat Danny Trejo's tacos in a second.
Oh my God! Have you had the big? Listen, the bacon donuts. There's always a long line for his tacos and his donuts. And at the 10th anniversary after party for Robot Chicken, I was inhaling those tacos. Yeah, there it is. That's me in the cave wall, the 4-eyed thing. Spoiler alert. It's sort of a Predator knockoff where we shot it in Afghanistan. By that I mean the cave from Iron Man. We shot in the exact same cave. I don't know how much paint they didn't use to cover up. They literally bought the set. They moved into the sets from American Sniper. So that's coming out around Halloween on what cable system, I don't know. But you're going to see me I do this. My world's stupidest superpower is I can run as fast as a dog on all fours.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can see me doing a bunch of music videos without a costume. But when you put me in a 4-eyed spider ape type thing, I literally had this little girl who's this 18-year-old girl who was earning her school points by that summer. It's 110 degrees. I'm running in a rubber monster costume, trying not to pass out, and an underground cave set, for American. You would still see the signs from American Sniper all around the Iron Man cave. And this girl, her only job was for me. She had to pull up my claws and help me pull back my head, the monster head, so I could drink my coffee. She would have boiling hot coffee. She goes, it's 110. Do you want iced coffee? I said, I am not going to even dignify that with an answer. If I don't burn my mouth, I'm going to complain about you. I wouldn't have, but she was very sweet.
Yeah.
She'd pull out my claws and then hand me my coffee.
Pat, it's been so much fun talking to you. I want to get you on our podcast again as soon as possible because this has been great. My buddy Dan, who does the horror podcast with me, he's gonna absolutely love you. So I want to have a more conversation in the future. But thanks so much for coming on.
I regret informing anybody, especially any family member within 1,000 miles, but I've actually like 3 more Ohioans now. It was just my brother-in-law and Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the creator of Superman, are from Ohio. But now you guys have entered my top 5 Ohioans.
All right.
Thank you so much. If you could stick around for just a minute when I end this, I would love to talk to you.
Sure. My pleasure, boys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Pat, you're awesome, dude. This is
a lot of fun.
For sure.
Are we off the air?
Jason, it's so glad.
It's having an issue. Hello.
Sure.
Let us end it.
I will
carry on this podcast.
I don't want to.